Facebook, and of course, we are live on Instagram as well. All right, great. So today we're going to be discussing how to make money with short sales. I'm going to sit tight just for a little bit, just so that way I can give the algorithm a little bit of time to kick in and to let people get their notifications about the live that we're doing right now. If you are watching me, do me a favor, give me a quick thumbs up or just a quick fire emoji or something in the chat so that way I know that you can hear me okay. Right now it is about 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which means it's 1:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And so everywhere in between. So wherever you're watching this, hope you're having a great day. Today is a very, very important topic, and we're going to be talking about short sales, what they are, how to navigate them, how to make money as a real estate investor and as a real estate wholesaler. Specializing in short sales. A lot of people don't know what short sales are, and we're going to go into why they don't know what short sales are and how you can not only profit from them, but you can also help people who are in a tough spot. That's what we're going to be talking about today. So, my opening slide, if you don't recognize it, right, it's actually a spoof on a movie from the 90s. Twins, right? With starring Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito. So what I did was, again, what we do sometimes can be a little boring, talking numbers, analyzing deals, underwriting deals, talking to sellers and buyers all day. No 2 days are ever alike, that's for sure. But, there isn't a real opportunity here to get really creative with what we do as real estate investors or as real estate wholesalers, right? So these slides, these are my chance. This is my chance to get creative, including the advertisements. When we do Facebook ads and PPC ads and PPL ads, then we can get a little creative. But those are kind of hit and miss. So anyway, our slide today is a spoof on that Twins movie poster. And so what I prompted AI to do was to give me two dragon mascots wearing similar colored suits, one tall at 6'6", one short at 4 feet, leaning into the other, just like the original movie poster with Arnold and Danny DeVito. Right, so we're going to be talking today about how to make money with short sales, how to help people who might be, not always, but might be in default, how you can help them and how you can also benefit yourself as an investor or as a wholesaler. Okay, now, if you're just tuning in, make sure that you like this video. If you could be so kind as to comment, if you can hear me okay, that would be great too. Just a quick thumbs up. I'm trying to look at the comments in the chat. Give me a hi, give me a fire emoji. Make sure that you like. Also make sure that you follow us, become a fan, subscribe to us, click the bell icon so that way you can get alerts anytime we go live and share this information with you. And lastly, do me a huge favor and do your friends, your family, your colleagues a favor as well. If they are in the same business as us, if they are interested in learning more about real estate investing or about real estate wholesaling, if they're interested and they're entrepreneurial minded, feel free to share this content with them. Share the link, share the video with other people. That helps us out as well, and it helps with the algorithm. And you can follow us. All of our social media handles are at DispoDragons. I was about to say .com. Okay, now, as you know, I like starting all of my training sessions with a quote, and this was a quote that I heard as I was walking my dogs this morning. Fear says, "What if?" Faith says, even if. And I think that's really, really important, because as we approach this business, as we approach any endeavor that we're going to be investing our time, our blood, our sweat, our tears into, it's really easy to fall into that trap of thinking, well, what if it doesn't work? What if it fails? What if I lose money? What if I get embarrassed? What if I disappoint people, right? And it's just a simple flip of the switch, right? So instead of what if, even if I fail, even if I lose money, even if I disappoint people, even if I lose all my money, even if it doesn't work out, I'm still going to make it work, right? That's that even if. So I love this quote. Fear says, what if? Faith says, even if. Minor distinction, but yet powerful mindset, right? Okay, for those of you who are just tuning in, if you don't know, I published a book. It is called Deal Like a Dove, Dispo Like a Dragon. This is the book. Okay, it is not. It is a. You can read it on Kindle. You can get it on Kindle, but it's not this 20-page blueprint. It's not a 20-page manual. It is 400 pages of solid information on how to build this business. I didn't hold anything back. I didn't hold any secrets back. I put it all in there on how to do this business, and the whole concept is you treat people, you deal with people like a dove, but you dispo like a dragon. You get those deals sold, okay? So it's a really, really good book. It has really, really good content. You can pick it up on Amazon by following the link bit.ly dispo dragon book, or you can just look for it on Amazon. Just look for Deal Like a Dove, Dispo Like a Dragon. You can find it. If you are into QR codes and you're watching this video on YouTube, scan the QR code. It'll save you $10 using this link. You can buy it directly from me as opposed to getting it from Amazon. I'll write you a little signature in there and a cool little note thanking you for picking up the book. Okay, so if you get it through Amazon, it's going to cost you a little bit more, but if you get it through this link, it'll save you $10. Okay. What we're looking at here is a video of Jay-Z and Warren Buffett. Now, if you don't know the story, Jay-Z went out to Warren Buffett, sought him out as a business mentor. Jay-Z was already wildly successful in his own right, but he had aspirations of doing more, of being more, and giving more. And he went to Warren Buffett, and Warren Buffett mentored him. And, the rest is history. Jay-Z is a billionaire, I believe multi-billionaire now, and not only that, but he's mentored other billionaires, including people like Rihanna and a lot of other people that you may or may not know. But the point is, not only did he get mentored by a billionaire and then became a billionaire himself, he then mentored other people who then became billionaires himself. So he's duplicated himself. Okay, where am I going with this? Well, in this business, a lot of people try to poo-poo on like mentorships and on courses and on investing in that stuff. And look, there's good ones and there's bad ones and there's great ones, okay? What we have in our organization is something called a profit-sharing mentorship where you can learn as you earn. Okay, so what you have is a bona fide mentor where we are going to go in there and we're going to help you close your leads. We get on conversations with your sellers or buyers if necessary, help you negotiate the contracts, help you fill out the paperwork, help you teach you how to sell your deals, how to find your buyers, teach you how to do everything. The mentor gets a percentage of the profit. That's why it's a profit sharing mentorship. And you get a percentage of the profits as well. And it is the most, in my opinion, the most affordable way to get a mentorship in this business so that you could learn how to do this business while being mentored by somebody else. And they have an incentive to do it because now they're actually being compensated for it, right? As opposed to just going on all the Facebook groups, the Reddit groups, the Discord groups and asking for free advice. Okay, I'm not saying that there isn't a time or a place for free advice. There is absolutely a time and a place for free advice, just like there's absolutely a time and a place for free education. But at some point when you want to level up, you're going to have to invest in yourself, right? Most universities aren't free, and so you invest in yourself, and now you have a system where you have someone actually helping you and teaching you how to do that. To learn more, visit start.dispodragons.com, start.dispodragons.com. Okay, we have something coming up. Just before we get into the training, I want to let everybody know we have a live virtual bootcamp training on August 23rd. It is on a Saturday. We are going to start at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. It'll last till 3:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which means that for people on the West Coast, we will start at 7:30 a.m. on a Saturday. It is going to be 5 hours with two 20-minute breaks in between. And we were going to maybe 30-minute breaks in between to give people time to get up, stretch, go eat, whatever they got to do. And what we're going to be doing is covering all the stuff that you don't see, the behind the scenes stuff, the high level stuff on how to do this business. Now, there's going to be some of you that are thinking, well, I haven't even closed my first deal yet, and you want me to go to this deal domination virtual training. You want me to participate in this. And I'm going to say yes. We're going to go from A to Z on how to build this business. So yes, we will start crawling, but eventually we're going to have you full-blown sprinting on how to do this business. All the low-level stuff and the high-level stuff as well. Okay, so it is on August 23rd. It's going to be a live training. There will be interaction. You'll be able to ask questions. You'll be able to participate. I'm working on getting some sponsors to participate, big sponsors, by the way. In addition to the fact that we are going to have a corporate LLC trainer that is going to come talk a little bit about LLCs, and we're going to raffle off one free LLC where the corporate trainer and corporation I guess consultant, if you will help you set up your LLC, and somebody's going to walk away with one LLC for free that they'll be able to do business in. To register, you want to go to, and you can save $100 right now, dispodragons.com, and then you click on deal deal/boot/camp. Okay, dispodragons.com deal bootcamp. Okay, there's a QR code here. We're giving early bird pricing right now that ends on the 10th. It's right now you can register for $249. If you are a profit sharing member, you get it for less. You get it for $149. If you're not a profit sharing mentor, you can save $100 and you get it for $249. Okay, after the August 10th, it goes up to $349. So use your QR codes, register for that, participate. There's going to be great training, great information shared, high-level information shared, and somebody's going to walk away with an LLC. Okay, so let's talk about short sales, okay? The market has changed and is continuing to change. Now, before I get going, I just want to check the chat board just to see the comments, and so you'll see me glancing down. You're going to have to forgive me for that. Okay, so what we're doing here is we're talking about a new market, okay? And so what has happened was for the last 7 to 10 years, I would say, we've seen prices steadily incline, okay? Now, there was a period where maybe it flatlined a little bit in certain markets, but, you know, more often than not, what was happening was prices just kept going up, and they kept going up. Part of it was because of the lower interest rates. Part of it was just because of COVID. I mean, there's a lot of different factors that played into this, but the reality is the market has changed now, and it is continuing to change, and in some markets it's flatlined, and in some markets we've already started to see a decline in values. Now, the reason that this is important, and I just talked about that, the increasing values. Values are now decreasing, and we're seeing more homeowners with little or no equity. Okay, this is very, very important. What you're seeing now are buyers that have purchased properties and they have very little equity in them, and the prices that they've purchased them for are the values of their current property is the same as when they purchased it back in 2023 or 2022, and in some cases has actually gone backwards. Many recent buyers, especially those who bought in the last 4 to 5 years, are experiencing a lot more buyer's remorse. Okay, so what that's telling us is that they're not happy with the situation that they got themselves in. And so they're opting to sell. Okay. Now, what is a short sale? A short sale occurs when someone sells their house for less than what they owe on their mortgage. All right. So simple math. Let's say that someone has a $500,000 home and they have a mortgage on it for $510,000, $520,000, let's say. So they owe $520, but current market conditions say that the property is worth $500. They are what is called upside down, underwater. And so if they want to sell the property and the market is saying that, hey, you know, buyers are only willing to offer them $500,000, then they are $20,000 short of what it is that they owe. And so what they will have to do is they will have to apply to the bank, right, requesting their authorization to be able to sell the property for less than what they owe. That is what a short sale is. Now, the bank and the lender agrees to accept a discounted payment in an effort to avoid foreclosures. Right now, most banks don't want to foreclose on the borrowers. Okay, they are making a lot of effort to try to keep people in their homes. But a lot of buyers don't want to contact their lender. Why? Because, you know, you get scared, you're nervous, you're embarrassed, you don't know what they're going to tell you. You don't want to hear the bad news, so it's easier to stick your head in the sand and just avoid it. But the truth is that most lenders don't want to foreclose on these people. They want to help them out. So in order to have a successful short sale, the borrower is going to have to contact the lender to be able to get their approval on it. Now, why are real estate agents not prepared for this new market? Sorry about that. I'm stretching my legs. Why are real estate agents not prepared for this new market? Well, here's why. Number one, since values have continued to go up, most of the sellers that they've been dealing with have had equity. And because they have equity, right? They haven't had to deal with a seller who's in default. They haven't had to, and when I say default, that means that they're already in foreclosure or they're behind on their payments, okay? So they haven't had to deal with this new market. They've been dealing with the market that's doing this. Now, in this current market, as it's shifting and slowly becoming more of a buyer's market, and prices are starting to decline, more and more agents are going to have to become familiar with the short sale process, with the foreclosure process. So there are a lot of agents that don't understand this process and have not been educated in this process because the market conditions didn't require them to know how to navigate a short sale, didn't require them to navigate this process or a market where there's foreclosures or REOs. But now that the market is shifting, these agents have to be educated. And just remember that a lot of real estate agents have gotten their license in the last, 5 to 7 years as the market was doing this, okay? It's a lot easier to be successful as a real estate agent when prices are accelerating or prices are increasing, when all you have to do is just talk to someone who wants to sell. You put a sign on the property and people are buying real estate, right? During COVID, there was a massive frenzy of people that wanted to buy real estate, okay? So they didn't have to deal with this, but now they do. And so that's why most agents are inexperienced. You as a real estate investor and you as a real estate wholesaler, there are going to be plenty of conversations where you are going to actually have to educate the agent. And I'm going to show you how to do that professionally, tactfully, right? Because a lot of these agents don't ask the right questions and they're not representing their clients the right way. A common mistake that a lot of agents make. Okay, number one, they don't ask for a copy of the mortgage statement. All right. Now, if they are working with a seller and there's a hint that the seller is in default, there's a hint that the seller is going to lose their property to auction, to foreclosure, to the bank. If they know that this is going on, one of the first things that agent must do is ask them for a copy of their most current mortgage statement so that they could see the situation that the seller is in. I can't tell you the number of agents that our team, people that we're mentoring, or students, I can't tell you the number of times that they've talked to an agent about a potential property that we could be interested in, and the agent saying, well, I don't know, I haven't seen the mortgage statement. Right? This should be Real Estate Agent 101 is for you when you are dealing with a client that is potentially in default for you to request a copy of the mortgage statement. On top of that, you want a copy of the mortgage statement as an agent just because you want to know what the net proceeds are going to be like. As an agent, you're supposed to be providing a net proceeds, an estimated net proceeds, an idea of what the seller is supposed to net when the property sells. As you're preparing this net proceeds, you should ask for a copy of the mortgage statement so that you can prepare it correctly. But for our purposes, we need a copy of that mortgage statement. Okay. Now, what are the key questions? Let me go back for a second. Yeah. All right. When you're approaching the agent and you are looking at a property that is potentially in default, or a listing that you find that's on Zillow, or you're working directly with the seller and the seller is telling you, I'm behind on my payments. Anytime you are dealing with any of those situations, right? An agent that is representing a short sale or or a seller that is behind on their payments, these are the questions that you need to ask. Number one, are they in default? Just because a property is in short sale, they're selling it short sale. Let me start all over. Just because a seller is selling their property as a short sale doesn't necessarily mean they are in default. Now, what is in default? If a seller has not made their payments for at least 3 to 4 months, what the bank does is they will record a notice of default, also called an NOD, against the property. It's recorded, it's public record, it shows up on title. And it takes about 3 to 4 months of non-payments before that even shows up, okay? So in some cases, the seller may not realize that they're in default, which is possible. But if they're already behind 3 or 4 months, that they would know, and there's a good chance that a notice of default has been recorded, or they don't want to let you in on it. Now, what you can do again is ask for a copy of the mortgage statement. You ask the agent, do you have a copy of the mortgage statement? Have you seen a recent copy of the mortgage statement? Second question, how many months behind are they? Okay, now in some situations, if they're only behind 2 or 3 months, then it's very well possible that you could purchase that property subject to, bring the note current, bring the mortgage payments current, and it's still a very savable, doable, deal, okay? But you don't know that unless you ask them how many months they're behind on their mortgage payment. Again, there are plenty of times where we are having conversations with agents and we ask them, well, how many months are they behind? And the agent will say, well, I don't know, I'm not really sure. Well, that's your job. You're the real estate agent. You're the one who's representing this property, which is why you should be asking for a copy of the mortgage statement so that you do know these things, okay? But a lot of them don't. And again, we're not going to be rude. We're not going to be condescending. We're just going to say, Mr. and Mrs. Real Estate Agent, could you do me a favor? I could potentially be interested in this property. But before I make any decisions, I'm curious about the mortgage statement. I don't need to see any personal information. You can black out anything that's not pertinent to this transaction. But I need to know, number one, are they in default? Number two, how many months are they behind on their payment and what the actual balance is? So how many months behind are they? How much will it take to bring them current? We've already talked about that, but you'll know that with the mortgage statement because it'll show up on there. And then again, I just took a look at a mortgage statement yesterday that Bo Park sent to me. We're working on a possible deal as well, and they were like 15 months behind on that one. So that's how much you need to ask them how much it's going to take to bring them current. Is the property scheduled for auction yet? Okay, so once you have missed your payments for about 3 to 4 months, the bank slaps on a notice of default against the property. It's recorded on title. Once you've missed between 6 to 9 months, there's a good chance that they're going to slap on, and it's called an NTS in most states, a notice of trustee sale, or it could just be an auction notice that the property is going to be auctioned off, and then it has a specific date on there. So at that point, once they get the auction notification, that's where they know for real that the seller is going to be, actually the sale is going to happen. It has a specific date, and they're going to lose that property. Okay. Now there are certain variables. It doesn't always happen on that date, and there's ways to navigate that, but it's going to require that the seller have a very serious conversation with their mortgage company. They need to get on the phone with the mortgage company right away. They should have done that with the notice of default, but that you can still do it even if it's an auction. Okay, just FYI. So number one, are they in default? Number two, how many payments have they missed? Number three, what was the last question? I'm trying to remember this. How much will it take to bring it current? And number four, is the property scheduled for auction? Okay. Again, you have to ask the seller these questions, and if you're direct to seller. If you're working with an agent, you have to ask the agent these questions. Okay. The agent needs to know these things if they are representing the property. What is the interest rate in the PITI? So you're going to want to know what the interest rate is and what the PITI. What does PITI stand for? That stands for principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. What is the PITI on this property? And again, without the mortgage statement, you're not going to know what the interest rate is. Without the mortgage statement, you're not going to know what the PITI is. Well, why is this important, Paul? Well, number one, if the mortgage rate is attractive enough, right? We've got plenty of investors that want to purchase properties that were bought and sold between 2018 to 2022 that have those interest rates that are in the 2s, 3s, 4s, and 5s. Okay, plenty of investors that would like to purchase those properties at those interest rates. We're probably not going to get those rates ever again. We probably won't ever see 4s. We might see 5s if the feds do lower it. Although, in my personal opinion, I don't think we're going to see 5s again either, because if they do drop the rates by 1 point and it drops into the 5s, there will be another frenzy of buyers that are going to go back out and they want to buy properties at a lower interest rate. They're going to try to purchase those properties. That frenzy is then going to create bidding wars, and then the prices are going to go back up as it is. People are already having problems purchasing properties right now with the current prices. Now, if they lower the rates and they create that frenzy, prices go back up even more, and it makes it even more unaffordable. So I don't think they're going to do that. I think they're just going to let the market correct itself, and that is exactly what is happening. So I went off on a tangent. Now, what is the PITI and what is the interest rate? We need to know that stuff. We can get that stuff from the mortgage statement. Why do I want to know the principal, interest, taxes, and insurance? I need to know these things because if I do decide that I'm going to purchase this property and I want to purchase it sub 2, right? Then the PITI is going to determine whether or not I buy it or not, because I need to make sure that I can rent it to a long-term renter. I need to make sure that if I rent it as a pad split or a co-op or a co-living house where I rent out each room individually, I need to make sure that there's enough money there for me to be able to pay the mortgage and still cash flow and make a profit. Without the PITI, I don't know those numbers and I don't know those figures, and that's why I need to ask for the mortgage statement so that I could have it. Is the seller open to creative options? This is another question that we're going to need to ask the seller, or we're going to need to ask the agent. Are they open to strategies that could prevent foreclosure and a potential deficiency judgment? We're going to talk about that in a little bit. And this is where investors and wholesalers become invaluable, okay? As an investor that uses wholesaling as a strategy, you might be a saving grace for these people, because look, they don't want to go through a foreclosure. If they go through a foreclosure, they're going to lose the property. They could still suffer a deficiency judgment, and we're going to talk about that. And then they can't purchase another property again for another 7 years. Okay, that's the whole process. Now, and and then they have to go through the whole embarrassment and the stress that comes along with dealing with a foreclosure. Now, there's some people that could care less, but there's some people that it really weighs heavy on them going through this entire process. As a real estate investor that uses wholesaling, or as a wholesaler in general, when you go and you purchase these properties and you take over these mortgages and you bring these loans current, you're actually helping them, because you're bringing it current, you're making the payments, you're improving their credit, you're saving them from foreclosure. It goes on and on and on. So I've said it before, there is a place for you in this market. There is a place for you in this circle of life as a real estate investor, as a real estate wholesaler. There is a place for you. There is a need for you, and there are plenty of sellers that will benefit from what you can provide to them if you know how to do it. Okay, if you know how to do it well. What is a deficiency judgment? I've used that word now 3 or 4 times, and I want to explain what it is. So when you sell a property, we just covered what a short sale is. Okay, a short sale is where you sell the property for less than what you owe. Use my example again. You owe 520,000, but the property is only worth 500,000. You're $20,000 short. And by the way, you're actually short way more, because if you try to sell this with an agent, you're going to have to pay commissions. Commissions could be 6%. 6% of a $500,000 home is $30,000, plus the $20,000 that you're short already. Now you're short $50,000. Then you still have to pay closing costs, title insurance. You have to pay all that stuff. So before you know it, you're actually not just $20,000 short. You're more like $55,000 short when you try to sell this property using a traditional method. Okay, so what happens to that $55,000 that you're short if you sell the property? Well, guess what? The bank is going to report that as income to the seller. The bank is going to 1099 the seller for that $55,000 for the deficiency, for the shortage, and so they get hit with what's called a deficiency judgment. So the IRS is now going to the bank is going to report to the IRS that you just made an extra $55,000 that year, right? Because you decided to do a short sale. And so here's the thing. There's going to be now the seller had to deal with all the stress of the property, buying the property, not being able to keep the property, selling the property, and then now they're getting hit with income tax, because they're going to have to pay taxes on that $55,000. So in some cases, I've seen it where you have sellers that would have gotten a tax return, on a certain year, but because they sold their property using short sales, because they sold it that way, they actually ended up having to pay taxes instead of getting a refund. That's what a deficiency judgment is. Okay, so. The seller is the owner, not the bank. This is another thing that I hear real estate agents say all the time. It's out of my hands, it's up to the bank now. And that's not true. On a short sale, the legal owner is still the seller. The seller is still on title. They will need to be the ones signing all of the paperwork. They will need to be the ones accepting an offer and rejecting an offer. The bank doesn't have the right to accept or reject an offer that a buyer comes in. The bank has the right to accept or reject the final net amount that they are going to get, upon sale. Now, what does that mean? Well, what that means is that, using my example again, the bank expects that they are owed $520,000. The bank wants that 520. That's their payoff amount. It's actually going to be more, but we're not going to get technical. They want 520 right now as their payoff amount, but we have an offer right now only for 500. We're $20,000 short. The bank decides whether or not they're going to accept that shortage. So they're not accepting the offer. They're accepting the final net amount that they are going to get. So it really bothers me, and I cringe when I hear agents say it's up to the bank now, because it's really not. Yes, they have the ability to affect the sale, but they're not the decision maker. The decision maker is still the seller, even if they're in default, even if they're in auction status. They are the legal owner. They have the legal rights to make the decisions of what they do with that property, not the bank. Okay, very, very important. Bank approves the short sale price only. That's the only thing that they approve. Okay, and how do they do that? By giving you a short sale approval letter, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. Now, creative options. So what are the options? Well, I've been talking about it. I've been just touching on it, but sub 2, buying the property and taking over the existing mortgage. Now, I've done trainings in our YouTube channel on purchasing property sub 2. I've gone into the pros and cons of buying and selling a property sub 2. You can look for that video in our YouTube channel. It is there. Sub 2s, when you buy them, subject to purchases, you are essentially taking over the existing mortgage. You're taking over title to the property. It is not an assumption. You're not assuming the loan. You're taking over the monthly payments. The loan remains in the seller's name, but title is in yours. Paul, why would somebody be so stupid to do something like that? Well, I'm not going to get into why. Go watch that other video, but trust me, people do it, okay? So you're taking over the existing payments as is, and this only works if the amount of arrears is less than 3 to 5% of the mortgage balance, okay? So if the mortgage balance is $500,000 and they're behind, 80,000, it's going to be very difficult to do a sub 2, and most investors aren't going to buy that property using sub 2 methods, because to bring it current, to bring the note current, it's too much money. But if they're behind between 3 to 5%, right? So 3 to 5% of the mortgage balance. So if the mortgage balance is 500,000 and they're behind, let's say 25,000, that's within that threshold where an investor might say, don't worry about it. I still like the deal. It cash flows. It makes sense for me. It's got a great interest rate. The interest rate's 3.5%. I'll never be able to get that again. I will buy this property. I will take over your existing mortgage. I will bring it current. You're behind $25,000 right now, but I'm going to bring it current. I'll pay the $25,000. I'll take over those payments. Loan stays in your name. Property goes in my name. I'm now the legal owner. Okay. Again, Paul, why would some people do that? Well, number one, because they're already in default, and number two, they value their credit. They don't want to do a short sale. Number three, they don't want a deficiency judgment. They don't want to get hit with this, this loss, and so that's why they would consider it. The PIT should also cash flow. So the PITI, principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, should cash flow a minimum of $200 to $300 every single month if the investor is going to buy it, as a rental. Now, if they're going to buy it to live in it, hey, that's up to them. But if they want to buy it as a rental, a long-term rental, short-term rental, Airbnb, co-living, pad split, whatever it is that they want to do, then it has to cash flow. Otherwise, why are they doing it? All right, let's go to the next page. And then the next option, next creative option, is the short sale. Okay. Now, the offer is presented to the bank for approval. Okay, so using my exact example again, we owe 520. We got an offer 500. That's the highest offer we could get. You present that offer to the bank. The bank will then sign off on whether or not they are going to approve that $20,000 shortage. And what they're going to do is they're going to hire a third party, typically a real estate agent, to go out to the property, to go take a look at it, to do what is called a broker's price opinion. Just think of it as like and this is going to piss off some appraisers, and I'm sorry, but think of a BPO as a very, very watered down version, and I mean very, very, very watered down version of an appraisal, and it's an estimate, and it's what the agent thinks the property is worth. Really, all the bank is doing is they just want to know the property's condition from a third party. When does a short sale work? Short sales work when a property has a significant amount of deferred maintenance. Okay, so if it's a fixer, if it's an ugly house, if it's in bad shape and it's in bad condition, then the short sale would probably make more sense as a purchase. They usually don't work on remodeled move-in ready homes. So if you've got a home that's totally remodeled, it's completely rehabbed, and it's in move-in condition, it's up to 2025 standards, you're probably not going to get, as an investor, a huge discount on that deal. Why? Because somebody else is going to come. I just said an agent's going to come, and they're going to do a third-party BPO, broker's price opinion, and that agent is going to give them the value of the property. And so as investors, when we are real estate investors, when we are investing in real estate as wholesalers, we don't want to pay retail value. We're trying to get it at a discount. And so when you are looking at a home that is completely remodeled, it's probably not going to make sense for you to acquire it as a short sale. Okay, but it does, and it could make a lot of sense if the property has a significant amount of deferred maintenance, or needs a lot of work. Okay, fixers. The short sale approval letter, that's what the bank uses to basically send the title company a message saying we'll accept less than what they owe. Yeah, it shows that we owe, that the seller owes us $520, Mr. or Mrs. Title Company. That's what's recorded on it, but we're going to accept $500,000 and we'll sign off on it. That's what the short sale approval letter is, okay? Now, the deal, all short sales are subject to the approval of that letter. So if you are going to be buying a property and the short sale makes sense, right? It's a deferred maintenance. It's a house that has a lot of work. It's a fixer-upper. It's an ugly house, and you think that you can get it at the right price, and the seller is willing to sell it to you at the right price, where there is enough of a margin there for you to make a profit as a fix and flipper, or there's enough of a profit for you to make for a margin of profit for you to wholesale it, to assign it. If this works, then you're going to need to get the bank to approve it through a short sale approval letter. Now, your offer needs to include language that says it's subject to the short sale approval letter. Why am I frozen on Instagram? I just noticed that. Let me see what's going on here. 1 second. It's still streaming, but for whatever reason, Instagram looks like it's frozen. Too bad. Okay. Anyway, it's subject to a short sale approval letter from the bank. The bank sends it to the title. Your contract has to say that it's subject to that approval letter, because if you don't get that approval letter, you don't want to be obligated, and you don't want the seller obligated to you, and you don't want to be obligated to the seller. EMD is not deposited until you get that short sale approval letter. So if you're working with a real estate agent, you make it clear to the agent that, hey, I'm making this offer, number one, subject to the short sale approval letter. You better make sure that there's an addendum in that contract. And number two, you better make sure that it says that the earnest money deposit is not going to be deposited until we have a short sale approval letter from the bank. Why am I telling you to do this? Well, because number one, it's really easy to make a deposit. It's really easy to make an earnest money deposit into a title company, into an escrow company, into a closing attorney's office. It's really easy to deposit that money. It's not so easy to get that money out. It's going to require the seller's approval and participation, and they're going to have to approve the release of your earnest money if this goes south. Okay, so my point is this is still contingent on the bank giving an approval letter. Well, I've been in some situations, and I've seen some situations with some of our students where they put in an earnest money deposit, the seller goes AWOL, they can't find the seller, and the deal's dead, but their money is still sitting with the closing attorney, with the title company, with the escrow company. So to prevent something like that from happening, you're going to say that the EMD is not to be deposited until the short sale approval amount is done and we have a letter. Okay. If your offer is approved by the bank, or the amount that they're willing to accept is approved, great, you make the earnest money deposit and you're done. This letter is crucial. It's what makes the contract valid. Remember, your contract is not valid until the short sale approval letter is provided by the bank. So make sure that A, your contract, your purchase agreement says that it's subject to a short sale approval by the lender, right? And two, that the earnest money deposit is not to be made until we receive a copy of the short sale approval letter from the lender. Okay. The non-assignment clause. Let's talk about this. So if you are looking at a deal and you are investing in the deal and you are considering assigning your equitable interest, you are considering wholesaling, you are considering marketing the opportunity, you are considering selling the deal, with most short sales, you are not going to be able to assign that contract. That short sale approval letter is going to have language in there that is going to basically say it is non-assignable. Oh, and get this, most short sale approval letters letters prevent you. There is something called a rider. It rides with the deed, okay? And what it says is that the property cannot be sold within, I'd say sometimes it's 60 to 90 days, okay, or less. Excuse me. It cannot be sold within 60 to 90 days. So you can sell it, you can flip it, but you can't redo this within 60 to 90 days. You have to hold on to it for a minimum of 60 to 90 days. And there's legal action that they can take if you do sell it before then. So you don't want to do that, right? You don't need to do that. So what do we do in this case when you're looking at this? It's a short sale, right? And you've decided, I do want this property. I do want it as an investment, but I have another buyer that wants it, and I'm going to assign the contract to them. Well, you can't. Okay, and they can't be flipped for at least 60 days. So what you do is you then, you can't do a double closing either. This is also very important, okay? Because I just said that it can't be sold within 30 to 60 days of you taking ownership of the property. And so you can't do a double close. I know some of you are already saying, well, what if we just, what if we double close it? Okay, what if we do that? Wouldn't that work? Well, no, that's not going to work because there's stipulations in that short sale approval letter that prevent you from doing it. So you can't do a double close either. Here's what you do. You purchase the property under an LLC that you own, okay? And it can be one that doesn't have any assets, one that doesn't have any bank accounts, one that doesn't have any properties under it, one that doesn't have anything. That LLC is just one that you have in your back pocket that you can use to purchase a property. And then what you do is you sell the LLC to the end buyer. So in this case, you're not selling the equitable interest. You're not selling an assignment of contract. You're not selling a deal. You're not selling an opportunity. What you are selling is the LLC that owns the contract, that has the equitable interest in that property. That's what you're going to be selling, is that LLC. At the beginning of this presentation, what we talked about was how on August 23rd, during our 5-hour live deal domination bootcamp, we're going to have a sponsor there that's going to talk about LLCs, and we're going to be giving away one free LLC. He's going to come in and help someone set up their own corporation for free. Okay, so you're going to have a corporation. That's one of those types of corporations that you just keep in your back pocket and you use in situations like this. It could also be used not only as a short sale, but it can also be used as a for foreclosures and REOs, because those banks have the same type of stipulations with those purchases, and sometimes even probate. Sometimes in probate, they don't allow you to do that as well once you get the contract if court confirmation is required. So anyway, an alternative to double closes is to use an LLC and to have an LLC that you can sell that does own the contract or does have the equitable interest in it, all right? Very, very important. All right, now, short sales can be very, very profitable. Okay, they can. I know plenty of people that have done very, very well fixing and flipping short sales, purchasing short sales, holding on to short sales, assigning contracts. You know, it just takes a lot more time and a lot more patience because you have to navigate the process. And they're typically going to take 60 to 90 days for you to get some type of short sale approval from the lender. Not always. Sometimes it's less. Sometimes it's more. But the point is, it does take time. It does take patience. And as I mentioned earlier, if you're going to be working with agents, in some cases, you're going to have to educate those agents on the process because some of them don't know. And they haven't taken the time to learn this stuff just because, again, the market didn't require it. The market was accelerating. Now that it's decelerating and in some cases going backwards, right? Now they're going to have to learn this stuff. So you want to make sure that you follow all the rules. You want to make sure that you play by the bank's rules if you're going to do short sales. But there are legal ways to make this thing work as a real estate investor, and you can still assign them using the strategies that we talked about earlier. Okay. Now, hopefully you saw some value in what it is that we were sharing. I'm looking at Aaron's message. Aaron, you just said, will it be recorded and rewatched? Yes. So for the people that are participating in that 5-hour boot camp that we're doing, it is going to be recorded, and those people who enroll and register, those are going to be the people that are going to be able to get the recorded copies of that for sure. Please make sure that you like and follow us. Remember that on all our social media handles, we are at Dispo Dragons. All of this content that we're putting out there, we're doing it for free. The only cost of admission is that you like it. Give me a like, give me an emoji, give me a heart, give me whatever, poop emoji. I don't really care. Just give me something. And then give us a follow. right? Make sure that you follow and that you subscribe on YouTube. Click that bell icon so that way you get alerts every time we go live, and that way you're notified when new content is uploaded, okay? Make sure that you do that. Just as a reminder, Deal Domination Bootcamp, 5-hour virtual. You got no excuses, guys. I don't want to hear, I can't drive to these conferences. I can't drive to these masterminds. I can't leave these meetings. Look, this is in the comfort of your own home. This is something where you're going to be able to participate in. You're going to be able to ask questions during the trainings. You're going to be able to learn from other people, and we're going to go over everything, low level, high level, all the behind the scenes stuff that isn't talked about, right? You really think that everybody's revealing all of their secrets on YouTube? Do you really think that? No. And we're going to go into all of that stuff on that day, Saturday, August 23rd, 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. You can register if you just use the QR code, or you go to dispodragons.com/deal/boot/camp. Okay, I think I put the QR code one more time. I'll do it one more time just before we end this. And like I said, I am still super impressed by that slide that I made. I can't help it. All right, here's the QR code for the live training, and you get $100 off. All right, $100 off. Right now it's $249. After August 10th, it jumps up to $349. If you are a profit sharing member already, you get another $100 off. So it's $149 right now. Message me and I'll send you the link so that you can register as well. Okay. All right, everybody. I hope everybody has a great day. I hope you found some value in this. You're gonna need to learn this stuff. There's gonna be a lot more short sales that are gonna be hitting the market. So you're gonna want to know how to navigate it. But more importantly, you're going to want to know how to be able to help someone that's in that situation. And without guiding them and asking them for a copy of the mortgage statement and actually prompting them to get on the phone with their lender, you're not going to be able to do any of that. There's a lot of people that aren't calling their mortgage or their lenders right now just because they're scared. They're scared, they're embarrassed, and it's easier to just ignore it. They're ignoring the letters, they're ignoring all of that stuff. But if you can just get them on the phone with them, if you can get a copy of that mortgage statement, you'll be able to set their mind at ease. You can navigate this difficult time for them, and you can show them, more importantly, that they have options. That's really what they need. They need options. And I didn't really go into it today, but there's going to be some cases where you're going to be able to help them do loan modifications and apply for loan modifications as well. That's a whole nother training. Today, all I wanted to talk about what short sales were, but we'll go into that in a future time. All right, everybody, I hope you have a wonderful day. I hope you saw some value on this. Register for that training August 23rd. Deal